Salesforce's Q1 earnings. Dan, what is going on at the Force?
Hey, do you mind if I do a quick disclaimer just before I start talking about the stock?
Yeah.
This show is for information, entertainment purposes only, while anything I say or Patrick says can not be looked at as investment advice. Please just enjoy the content, enjoy our perspectives, and know that we're right, but don't invest based on anything we say. Okay, there we go.
Boom.
So look.
There we go. Thank you. My bad.
I guess there's the question of, did they beat or did they not beat? I think on the lowered guidance, it was a good quarter for Salesforce. But of course, the market was pouting a little bit because it was the slowest growth that the company had, I think, on record, I think is the actual data point here. But let's look at what we're up against. We're up against tons of companies laying off lots of people. And despite the stronger than expected job market that we've heard about, those aren't information jobs. Those aren't the kinds of jobs that people are using Salesforce. Those are a different set and archetype. So lots of companies, the big tech companies, all these layoffs means less seats for SaaS. So Salesforce is working against that sort of macroeconomic headwind to grow the business. And yet they still grew the business 11%. They also froze prices, paying attention to customer sentiment. And, overall, the company is still on a good track. But let's be really clear what this quarter was about. This quarter was about Mark Benioff getting on the record and coming out and telling a story about AI. That's what this quarter was all about. He came out and he's talked about, you have Salesforce GPT, you have Tableau GPT, you have Slack GPT. This wave going forward is going to be, it's time for Salesforce to get on the record, to contest that it's not just Google and Microsoft, that they have a real play to be made, and that this GPT, generative AI capability, is going to be meaningful for the business long term. Because really right now, with these kind of macro headwinds, with slowdowns, with prices being frozen, with, the overall market, this is the time for the company to sort of reboot. It's made some important cost cuts. It was able to deliver on its earnings. But what it does need to do now is it needs to drive growth, and it needs to convince the market that it's got the answers for all this AI technology. Pat, look, I think we have to consider how businesses are going to run. Salesforce is the most pervasive CRM platform on the planet. It is, in terms of the broader Slack integration, I've been saying for a long time, there's some room to grow. They've not done a good enough job of making Slack the sort of front end business, digital headquarters that has been promised. I think that's a big opportunity for low code, no code, for optimization and workflow, for better business decision making and data visibility. And I think, of course, Tableau can help that. But the GPT thing, the fact that we're going to move from complex multi-screen querying, lots of custom design, to being able to ping a prompt to be able to get data out of the system, is what Mark Benioff was indicating in his earnings post-earnings call, the earnings call. And that was what I got most excited about. So my take is, it's the AI story now. This has been the quarter of AI. The growth is slowed. They need to turn that back up. But AI is going to be the accelerator for this. And that's so not too much on the numbers, Pat, because it was kind of business as usual. But the slower growth concerned people, but AI was the story.
Yeah, good breakdown. People kind of forget they beat on the top and they beat on the bottom, right? Very good profitability, which I think is a good testament to some of the transformation that Benioff is putting in place. And by the way, cleaning house of many of its senior executives, or maybe the other way to look at it is they just didn't want to hang out and be part of this transition. There is definitely a sediment, and Dan, I brought this up years ago, right? We kind of got used to 20% growth in and out every quarter. We're down to single digit, maybe 10% right now, and investors are wondering if it's a growth play, right? You dip below that 20% day in, day out, and that's the issue. Now, they had 10% growth. I think it's too early, though, to call whether it is the economy, just the economy, or being self-inflicted either. Some of the biggest areas of decline, Q1 of 23, Slack, this platform and other, 58% growth, right? It was 12% growth this quarter. A year ago in the Americas, 21% growth. In this quarter, 10%. I mean, those are absolutely dramatic slowdowns. One of the things that I appreciated you adding is if you look who's being laid off now. Do you know who they are? They're marketing people and salespeople. Okay. Now I know that the days of Salesforce being a CRM company, even though it's their ticker, they've grown a lot outside of that, right? With MuleSoft, with Tableau, and Slack and others. But some of their core users basically got laid off. Now I don't know if those were decision makers or not, but the consumption and the sales have essentially been cut in half. And if I look at the comparison in growth, like I showed out, I think it's pretty staggering. I think what the street wants to see is they want to see numbers based on the AI talk. I am very impressed with what Salesforce has rolled out throughout. I mean, adding GPT to basically everything. Everything's not GA yet, but some of it is. And these are exactly the type of applications that you expect generative AI to add enterprise value. So I'm optimistic about how they're doing, and I look forward to kind of learning more about how their customers are using these AI integrations. And by the way, are they making more money? Are they taking market share? Right? It's one thing, and we've got a couple stories here of companies who talked AI and their stocks just were flat, right? Because they couldn't show growth, EPS, prices, things like that.
So Pat, and I know we got to keep moving, but the demarcation between winners and losers on AI have been the companies that have been able to discern the value of the content versus just needing to add AI as a, hey, this is something we're going to put in our current product for the same price. Like,
yeah.
So anyways, that's what I'm not sure about is, does Salesforce charge more? Does it actually yield more revenue, or is this kind of table stakes?
Yeah, or to protect share. Protecting share doesn't get anybody excited in the street. So yeah, more research to go.